Hi.
Hello. Oh, hi, Shani. Good to see everyone.
Okay, so good afternoon. It is 12:04. We're going to begin the lunch and learn on credentialing with Wellcare. Thank you for being here, Stacy Felder. You should be able to share. The floor is yours.
Okay, I will go ahead and share. Good afternoon, everybody. I was going to say good morning. I keep forgetting it already hit 12. Can you see my screen? Can everybody see my screen? Am I okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for having me here today. I'm from the operations team with Wellcare, and I am also joined by my colleagues, Claire Redette and Shanice Scott today. We are going to talk about the doula provider relations training today for Wellcare. And I'm working off a couple of screens, so let me just get my bearings here. So there's some things that you're going to see on here that we're not going to talk about, but we'll do an overview of some of those things. But this is basically what our presentation will look like today. So just to give you an overview on Wellcare, our mission and vision is to be the leader in government-sponsored health programs, and we can't do that without being in partnership with our members, our providers, where the doulas come into play, and our governments and our communities that we serve. We value our partnerships, members, our providers, our regulatories to deliver excellent service to our partners. We value the integrity that Wellcare has consistently demonstrated at a high level. We value our accountability. Our associates must be responsible for the commitments Wellcare makes. And we value the teamwork that we do. So when you talk about Wellcare, you will hopefully see that. One thing that I do just want to mention before we actually jump into the doula benefits is that you may hear the name Centene brought up sometimes. Centene and Wellcare are one and the same. Wellcare is the market name, but we are under the Centene umbrella. So just to make sure that that's understood. The doula scope of benefits, everybody is probably familiar with that it did come to New Jersey under the Medicaid market in 2021, and it does offer the prenatal visits, labor and delivery support, and the postpartum visits. And this is just a basic of the services that doulas are going to be offering. They were going to be assisting the pregnant, the birthing, and the postpartum individuals are going to be eligible for doula care and can benefit from the physical, emotional, and informational support that doulas provide during this prenatal period for our members. Doula care is available to the members regardless of the medical complexity, and to keep in mind that you must secure and maintain a record of the practitioner recommendation for each member served prior to the initiation of your doula care. So Wellcare will not require doulas to seek prior authorization for starting services, but we will get into it a little bit more, where we are going to ask that you touch base with our members' care management team, use them as resources, and keep that communication open with them as far as their coordination of care is concerned. So this kind of just tells you what the doula scope of service is. This is based off of the requirements of CMS. This is not Wellcare specific. This information is available with the state. I do just want to point out, though, that doulas are not approved to transport Medicaid members. Under the Wellcare MCO, the members will receive non-emergent medical transportation through NEMT, which is a state-approved vendor, and Modivcare, which is formerly Logisticare. So please keep that in mind when servicing Wellcare's members. This is just a slide that explains the difference between the different types of care that doulas can provide. Again, this is based off of the state guidance. This is not Wellcare specific. There are two different types of care. One is standard, where you're allowed 8 perinatal visits and 1 labor and support visit. And one is enhanced care, where you're allowed 12 perinatal visits and 1 labor and support visit. The enhanced care are for members who are 19 years old or younger at the time of your first doula member visit. So that's going to go based off of your date of service. Okay. There is more information. I do have a link at the bottom where you can click on the link, and there's more information on the state's website if you need more specific information. This breaks down your different levels of care when it comes to the standard versus the enhanced. So we're going to go over the billing codes in just a little bit. Some more guidelines. You are allowed multiple visits in the same day. You are not allowed multiple visits in the same day, except when there is a prenatal visit in the morning and then a labor and delivery visit later in the day, or vice versa, where you have a labor and delivery visit early in the morning or in the day, and then a postpartum visit later on in the day, okay? Doula services are available from the perinatal period through 180 days postpartum. And this is contingent on the member retaining WellCare enrollment, which is what we're going to talk about in just a few minutes, okay? It is possible for a doula to start a new series with a prenatal visit claim during the 6 months of postpartum period if that member were to become pregnant again during that period, okay? So, like I said, that was a high level of the services, and now we will talk very specifically about the enrollment process with WellCare. Once you are enrolled with the state of New Jersey and you have a Medicaid ID number under your individual MPI number, that's when WellCare or any of the MCOs really can contract with a provider. So you will enroll as an individual provider with Medicaid first, and then you can come to us and we can start the contracting process. So what does that look like? In order to enroll as a fee-for-service provider, the doula must be 18 years or older, complete and maintain the certification of doula training, which is what you have to do in order to obtain a Medicaid ID number, pass the New Jersey police fingerprinting criminal background check, which again, it's something that you have to do for the Medicaid ID number anyway, and secure and maintain the liability insurance consistent with the requirements of the managed care contract. I just want to verify, it doesn't mean that you have to do these multiple times. It means that once you have done these and they are on file with Medicaid and you have that Medicaid ID number, we use that information to credential with WellCare. So it's not that you have to do it multiple times. So there are certifications that doulas have to take in order to become Medicaid approved, and there's a guide on here to show you what those are. If you have not done that process already, you can refer to this slide. I'm going to go ahead and skip over it, assuming that most of everybody is already Medicaid approved. And we're going to talk about the types of enrollment with WellCare. So individual doulas have an option of being an individual provider or joining a group or an agency with WellCare. So if you have your individual MPI number, you can absolutely contract with WellCare as an individual, and you can contract with WellCare as a group or an agency under that group or that agency's tax ID number or MPI number. So, so you can see here on the screen that as an agency, the doula agencies must also enroll in the fee-for-service as providers. So what that means is to be as specific as possible. If you have an individual doula who has their own tax ID and MPI number, and you are registered with the state of New Jersey and you have a Medicaid ID number, you can contract with us, as well as an agency who has their own MPI number, own tax ID number. They can contract with us under their Medicaid ID number as a group. You can do both. You are not limited to one or the other. If you want to do it as an individual, you can, or if you wanted to join a group agency, you can as well. Under the agency, you have somebody doing the enrollment processing for you. as an individual, most likely you're going to be doing that one on your own. But that is where myself, Claire, and Shanice are here and available for you to help you and guide you through the process. So as the effective date of the state guidance, the doulas may also join obstetric physician or midwifery practices and or independent clinics. Excuse me. And an individual doula affiliated with the group must enroll as an individual Medicaid provider as well with Medicaid, even if they provide services through the groups. So if there's any questions on that, we can certainly help to assist you with any of the questions. So when it comes to provider credentialing with Wellcare, I am going to show you, we have a 6-page application that is very specific to doulas. And you can see here where we have it checked whether you are joining as an individual or an agency. And I do just want to point out that if you did want to do both, it's absolutely great. 2 applications will need to be filled out. One as an individual with the individual tax ID and MPI number, and then one as the agency with the agency's tax ID and MPI number, just so that there's no confusion, okay? We provide you with a little checklist here that shows you all the information that is going to be required for us to submit for credentialing, which is going to be a copy of your certificate of insurance, which we touched base on earlier. Your work history, basically like a resume. You know, if you're going to go to somewhere for a job, you're going to provide a resume. That's essentially what the credentialing process is. It's basically just telling us your credentials as far as what you have done in the past, what certifications you have, et cetera, and then just your consent form and your W-9 form to back everything up. So again, we just have an application checklist versus the individual checklist for you. And I'm not sure why it's coming over like that. Oh, there we go. And this is just the basic information. So right now, we understand that a lot of doulas may have a PO box where we are going to be sending their remittances, which is absolutely fine. And you're going to have a primary address, which may be your home. So we are suppressing any home addresses that will not show up on our website, but we do need the different information as far as correspondencing in the future, as well as remittance addresses that you would want us to send your checks to. So there is a reason for the 2 different addresses when you go to see your primary and versus your billing address and your corresponding address, okay? The rest of it is just basic questions for any doula provider, your tax ID, your Medicaid provider ID number, your MPI number. And then again, like I mentioned, it's just basic questions for the doula to have to answer. And then you just sign at the bottom. Once we receive your application along with your W-9 and your certificate of insurance, that's when we can go ahead and create the contract. The contract process is pretty easy, I want to say, where, you know, Shanice and I are probably going to make the contract for you. You're going to receive an encrypted email that will allow you to electronically sign the contract. The contracts are state approved, so even though you're going to see that it's like 65 pages long, most of that is regulatory information that we must include in the contract based off of the state's guidances. We're going to see a little bit more once we continue, but then once you can electronically sign it and send that back to us, that's when it will usually take about 45 days in order for us to submit that along with the application to our credentialing team and to get you all set up into the system. Again, if you have any questions, our information is going to be at the end of this slide, at the end of this presentation, and you can email us at any time. Some resources that you're going to have with us after credentialing is PaySpan. PaySpan is our electronic funds transfer, or EFT, which basically means that once your services are rendered and we submit a claim, then we can pay you directly into your bank account once you sign up with PaySpan. You can also view our ERAs, which are our electronic remittance advices, like a tongue twister, through PaySpan, where you can see which member was paid for what and what services. And again, if you're signed up for EFT, the money goes directly into your bank account. You don't receive a paper check and have to worry about cashing it or things like that. Registration information is on here, where you can either go online or you can call them to register. Just so that it has been said, registering for PaySpan and the portal, which we'll get into in just a few minutes, you must have a provider ID in order to register for these, and that does not get generated until after the credentialing process. When you receive your welcome letter from Wellcare, this information along with your provider ID number will be in your welcome letter. So you'll have all of that once the credentialing process has been completed. The portal will be available to you after the credentialing is completed. And again, you do need to have your provider ID number in order to access the portal. The portal is going to be based off of your tax ID number. And then once you have your provider ID number, where we can link it to, you're going to register a username, which is essentially like your email address, and then we link that to your tax ID. The portal is a great resource. It allows you the ability to submit claims and check on the claim status for free. You don't have to have a different clearinghouse in order to do it. You can do it directly through the portal. It also gives you the ability to check member eligibility, which is very, very important, and we're going to touch base on that in just a moment. You can view your claims on the portal, dispute claims, run reports, and catch up on news there. That's all available to you in the portal. And we're going to go through what that looks like. This is the landing page that you're going to see. And this is where you would come to check member eligibility. So when you're servicing the Medicaid population, Medicaid members can lose eligibility on a month-to-month basis. And what that means is that just because that they were under Wellcare as an MCO in February, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are covered under an MCO in March. So I will always, or Wellcare will always recommend that you double check their eligibility prior to servicing the member. So if you have a member coming up for a date of service, just double check their member eligibility in the portal. I don't know where my annotate tool is right now. The member eligibility date here is very important. So again, today is what, March 22nd. If you are double checking a member's date of service for, say, February 18th, which is in the past, you want to make sure that you come here and put February 18 in here. If you have a scheduled service date for March 30th, you want to come over here and make sure that you put this and set this to March 30th, 2023. So if we're in March and the member is changing MCOs come April, or they're no longer going to be covered under Wellcare as of April 1st, then you're going to change this date to April 1st, 2023, and then you'll see something here, or the member's not going to come up if they're no longer covered under Wellcare. So again, we will always recommend that you check member eligibility to ensure that there is no hiccups when you go to submit the claim for servicing our members if for any reason they're not covered under Wellcare any longer on that date of service. You do have drop-down fields here where you're going to select the member ID number, enter the number, and then hit your search key. And again, if there's any issues walking through the portal, the great thing about technology now is we can get on a Zoom call, share your screen, and we are able to go ahead and walk you through the process on how to use it. Very similar to the process is claims, where you have the ability to come up here onto the toolbar, drop down the claims toolbar. You can either look up a claim status or create a professional claim, and you also have that option down here to create a new professional claim. If you go to look up a claim status, that'll bring you down to this screen where you have a drop down here to put in either the claim number, and I believe it also lets you search by member ID number as well, what your service date is, and you can go ahead and click search. That will bring you to this screen that's going to show you the member's name, what the date of service was, what the status of the claim is, what your charges are, your claim number, and then it also gives you other options where you can view more details, appeal the claim, or correct the claim. And we're going to touch base on that in just a minute. So we did talk about member eligibility, so I'm going to just really run through this. But again, we are going to recommend that you check it prior to servicing any members because the member eligibility status can change at any time. There are other options that you can check member eligibility status other than the provider portal, which we just talked about. You can also call into Wellcare's interactive voice system. You can contact provider services. And then the source of all truth is eMEBS, which is the state website. If there's ever information on the state website, that is usually where we are going to go also to verify the member's information. So I am going to run through a high level on claims. And again, claim submission process is not Wellcare specific. These are CMS guidelines that we are going to follow. And most of our information, timelines, and requirements are all based on the CMS requirements. Anytime that you want to submit a claim, you have 180 days based off of the member's date of service. So if you saw the member on March 1st, you have 180 days to submit the claim for the first time from March 1st. So 180 days is roughly a 6-month time period. So that gives you until November 1st to go ahead and submit that claim for the first time. There are several ways that you can do it. The portal is the one that we are always going to recommend unless you already have a clearinghouse set up with EDI submissions. Then there's our quick reference guide that is on the website that will tell you all of the information you need to know as far as the EDI submissions so that your clearinghouse talks with our clearinghouse. And again, anytime that you need help, you can reach out to one of the Wellcare staff and we are more than happy to go ahead and help you set everything up. The portal is always going to be the easiest, and then there's always going to be paper. Paper gets a little bit tricky. We're always going to recommend that you do it via electronic first. Paper makes it a little bit more difficult for us to be able to help you. Getting it into our mailroom becomes an issue, scanning, things like that. So it is also very specific on how you have to fill out the paper form, again, based off of CMS guidelines. And I do touch base with them, on this here slide. Here is the EDI information that we talked about, or that I mentioned, that is also listed on our quick reference guide on our website. The paper claims, again, per CMS guidelines, they have to be filled out very specifically. Original red ink, white paper. There cannot be any hand printed information on it. The font has to be very specific, and there cannot be any of these characters down here in order to make sure that it passes the CMS requirements. This is just an idea of what a 1500 form looks like. And, oh, excuse me. If you are filling out the 1500 form, I pointed out here very specific boxes that do need to be, that are required fields that have to be entered. The top form is basically like the member's information and the insurance information and information based off of the member's health history. And then the bottom piece is all of the specific information leading to your date of service and what you did with the member during your visit. If you're filling this information out online, these are required fields, so it doesn't allow you to move forward unless you actually have filled this information out. That's what I like about doing it through the online portal. It flags you right then and there. You know where the error was, and there's no delay in finding out what needs to be fixed. You see here where these are in orange. I do just want to call these out. This information for box 22 is the information that you would use to submit a corrected claim. So what is a corrected claim? Say, for instance, that you submitted a claim and instead of writing 4 units, you only wrote 1 unit. So we paid the claim based off of how you billed, and we paid you for 1 unit. And you said, well, wow, this is low. What's wrong? And then you realize that it was only 1 unit that was entered, not 4. You can submit a corrected claim to update that unit so that this way you can be paid according to what services you rendered. In order to do that, here in box 22 with this first circle, you're going to put in the number 7. This is again how you're filling out the paper form. If you're doing this online, how we showed you through the portal, it allows you to submit a corrected claim where you don't necessarily have to worry about what box that is because the portal automatically does that for you. So if you're submitting it through paper, in box number 22, there should be a number 7 here. And then here where the big circle is, you're going to enter the actual claim number that you need to correct. So again, if there's any questions when you actually go to do this, we are more than happy to jump onto a Zoom call and walk you through it. Okay. This is a chart for you to use that has the very specific codes that you need, as well as how to bill them, and the diagnosis code. So whenever you are billing on a claim, you are always going to include the diagnosis code Z as in zebra 32.2, and that stands for childbirth instructions, okay? Diagnosis codes are always required whenever billing a claim, and this information will have to be on there. So these are your codes, the 99600, the modifiers HD and U7. Each modifier you'll see here indicates a different type of service. The max reimbursable duration, which is broken down into units. Each unit is broken down into 15 minutes, and this max reimbursable information is based off of, again, CMS guidelines on what the max amount that is going to be reimbursed, okay? This information has just been updated. The rates for this are based off of CMS rate guidelines, okay? So just keep in mind that we have a couple disclosures that the visits are in 15-minute units, but the attendance at delivery is a flat rate regardless of whether or not it is vaginal or cesarean, okay? That is mainly the end of it. Coordination of benefits. We have this in here just for more FYIs, but I won't touch base on that right now. There are links in here that you can utilize. The CMS fact sheet will take you to the CMS website. There are links on here for Wellcare companion guides, pay span, the quick reference guide that I did touch base on as far as EDI, provider relations, things like that. And then here's a link to our provider manual that is on our website. These are just additional links and our contact information. Denise Scott is the provider network specialist for you. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. We are here to help. If needed information, there is the link here for the Doula Association, as well as the state application, and then again, our Wellcare reference guide. So we can open up, I did hear some chats coming through, but I did not take a look yet. If anybody has any questions, please feel free.
Great presentation, Stacy. Well, I just want to add, this is Clara Jeff from Wellcare, that this was a lot, right? This is a lot to take in, a lot to receive just in one training. So we do due diligence to meet with you individually to go over this for your specific needs, be it the application, be it the billing process, that can be broken down. So as you're listening on the call, I know we have a few doulas on the call, please feel free to ask us any questions, share in chat. I'm going to share a couple of our links in chat that Stacy has put up here. So those were the chat things that she heard going off. But if you have any questions, feel free. We're here to answer them. And I'm sure the New Jersey Doula Learning Collaborative, who does a wonderful job, can assist with any additional questions that you may have for them. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you, Stacy and Claire. Um, if anyone has any questions, please do share. I know that there were 2 or 3 other questions that were already answered in the presentation.
Do you just want to mention those just in case, Shani, in case anybody else here? Sometimes we ask questions and sometimes they can help us, even though we don't know. So yeah, feel free to ask those questions.
For sure. So one question was about what would be the best way to bill. The answer was the portal, using the electronic BMF 1500, not the paper. Another question was who to contact if a person should need assistance, and it was listed there. And another question was, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Does Wellcare require provider referrals? And I believe that was on the first slide that you do not.
Okay. And I want to go into some detail about that. I happen not to have Michelle Mathis. She's our wonderful OBGYN RN case manager that's specifically for our pregnant women. You know, when a person first becomes pregnant, they most probably got 1,000,001 things going on in their mind and what they have to do. One of the things that we don't want to be a hindrance to them is when they need things such as a breast pump, or let's say they're saying that they need blood, the doctor's saying, hey, you need to check your blood pressure. These are all what we call durable medical equipment that is allotted to the member but having our insurance. The care manager, Michelle Mathis, can get that expedited to the member. They're entitled to it. It is free of charge. There is no cost to it. And then we also have another program. It's going to change its name a little bit. We are going through a name change, so anticipate that coming through. But it's like our it used to be called our Healthy Rewards program. So if a member is in need of a stroller, if they're in need of diapers, they get to select what their choice of need is, and we send that out to them as well. So these are just some of the ways that the care manager can help. So even though you're required, it's not mandated, we can be your resource for those services, you know what I mean? As well as we have community connections. So if people are having problems with rental support, et cetera, we have what we call our social determinants of health organization. We call them community connections, and they can help that individual. We've insisted, and just to give you an example, in times of when Newark had the crisis with water, a member said, hey, they need water. They didn't have water. They have to take their prenatal pills. They have to do different things. Well, once Newark gave us that resource, she wasn't able to get through. We contacted the resource. They delivered water to her home. So these are the type of things that the care manager can help to tap the people into resources. So I just wanted to plug that.
And just to add to what Claire's saying, not only that, but if for any reason that the doula is hitting any roadblocks with the member themselves, getting them to their appointments, especially postpartum, please reach out to our care management team. That is what they're there for. They are there to help. They are there to be resources for our members and advocate for our members and help you guys service our members.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that bit about the care management. I didn't even know that myself.
Yes. And all the insurances, as a matter of fact. I don't want to down any of the other, all the insurances should have a care management. So always call if you have a member, tell the member if they can provide their card to look on the back of their card. There should be a customer care number for them to call, and the care management call that number and ask, hey, what does my insurance offer me as a pregnant woman? I know when they first become pregnant with us, they will actually receive a booklet in the mail telling them of different things. We call it our baby booklet. So yeah, they should be receiving these kind of tchotchkes from the health plans to assist them through their pregnancy. And I don't want to forget the provider network team. I got Shanice here. The provider network team also does a great job if, let's say, for example, as we're dealing with a member, they're having a problem getting to their OBGYN, Ocean County, I can use that as an example as one area where a person may have difficulty. We will work with our provider network rep and team to see what other providers, and that's what the care manager does, to see what other providers are in that area. Maybe the member feels that their membership is too crowded, they're not being seen in time, whatever the situation is, we try to resolve that for the member by sharing that and seeing who else is within their immediate area that they can get to. So these are some of the ways within insurance that we try to assist our members.
Thank you so much. That's great information, and I feel like it's great public health. Does anyone have any questions for either Claire or Stacy, or anything regarding credentialing with Wellcare?
And if you're like me, you may be double muted. So if you're double muted, you could also do it in chat, because I do that a lot.
That mute button will do it to you. Okay, there are also a bunch of
So
links
is it,
in the chat.
yeah.
We know that it was a lot of information, so in the event that you're still processing and you want to reach out afterwards, it's perfectly fine. So I'll also put our email address in the chat.
And then also, if the doulas want to unmute themselves, one of the things we like about doing these presentations is we like to hear about us, right? We like to hear about what can we do as insurance companies to improve anything that you may be seeing. You know, take that opportunity to give us feedback as well. Our feelings don't get hurt easily. We don't take it personal, but it's ways that we can improve how we service you. So feel free to share with us as well. And if you don't feel comfortable in this forum, you can definitely share with the New Jersey Learning Collaborative. We're working very closely together here in New Jersey with the Doula Learning Collaborative. So you can share it with them. Again, our feelings do not get hurt, I promise you. Whatever feedback you can give us, please do.
So this is Aurelis. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. For those I do know, I'm glad to see familiar faces. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Aurelis. I'm the doula program supervisor at the Partnership for Maternal and Child Health, overseeing the Patterson Community Doula program. And I just want to give you all kudos at Wellcare, because I do hear that you all have the smoothest process to apply. And anytime I hear anyone saying, oh, make sure you apply for the MCOs, I often hear Wellcare being the #1 MCO that they should apply for, because it's an easier process and it's so much more support that they'll receive. So I just wanted to, give you your flowers while we are all here together.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I definitely want to pass on those flowers to a big team that we have, and that's Stacy at the helm. We have Janet Soler, who's on the call now and definitely dedicated to us. She was our rep. She's moved to another side of the business, but as you can see, she's so passionate about this. She stays on with it. We also have Miss Shanice Scott, who's our new doula provider rep, as you see her information. Again, this is great stuff that we want to hear, but we definitely can't do it without a team. So we meet on a weekly basis, sometimes every other week, to make sure that we're providing the doula program the best way we can to the community. And we're definitely dedicated to it. We know the impact it has on our membership, Black infant mortality, and we know the importance of it. So we thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
So I believe we're still going to be on here. I know Stacy had a definite stop at 1, but again, we'll stay on for a few minutes in case you guys think of anything, any questions or feedback to give us. And I'll hand it back to Shani. Thank you.
Once again, I just want to thank you all for being here. If you have any questions, feel free to stay on and ask. I'm going to stop the recording in case you don't want that to be there. Thank you all for attending today's Lunch and Learn. And have a great afternoon.
Before everyone leaves, if we
Oh.
could just, hi everyone, take a quick poll.